n-ost online kitchen talks. You see we have already some guests here. We hope you're joining us on Facebook as well. And yes, this is the exclusive online kitchen talk. You see we're all in our kitchens, and we invite you also to look for a cozy place in your home and grab a wine or a beer and listen to our great guests. And for those of you who are participating only via Facebook, you can also send us your questions, if any, or comments, just using the Facebook comment function. And then our host and moderator, Anna, will react on that so that you're also involved. Yes, and thank you, Anna, for inviting us to your kitchen in Moldova, and the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ana Gherciu. I'm a journalist and a media manager at Moldova.org, a media outlet that was founded like 20 years ago. I am very honored to be the host of today's kitchen talk. And I thank the n-ost team for the invitation. And now I would like to introduce to you our guests, our special guests. We have Ulrike Christl from Eurotopics. She has been the head of the Eurotopics editorial team since October last year. They have correspondents from 32 countries, if I'm not mistaken, and they also have a newsletter translated to 5 languages. Soon we will have be joining Tuğba Tekerek, also a colleague of Ulrike at Eurotopics Turkey, where she works as a social media editor. Also, she is a freelance journalist based in Istanbul. She is working with international media as well as local media. We have Vlad Odobescu, who is a Romanian feature writer with 15 years of experience. He is currently working with the Decât Revistă magazine based in Bucharest. They are very popular and loved there because of their storytelling. We have also Angelina Davydova, who is a freelance journalist. She is very dedicated to climate change topics, policy climate change, and at an international but as well Russian level, she covers a lot of topics concerning climate change. So I welcome everyone to be to send us questions and to have a drink, of course. I am drinking Moldovan wine. We are very proud of our wine. For example, this one is a dry red wine. I love it. So I think we have to start because we don't have a lot of time and we want to hear you all and hear your questions. So I think I will start with Ulrike because out of everyone from this group, she might know better the answer to this question. Eurotopic does a very useful effort of reflecting different opinions from Europe on the biggest topics out there. So Ulrike, could you explain shortly the criteria for your selection? How do you follow the topics, or you follow specific people who are writing on topics? How do you organize your work?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Anna. I hope everyone can hear me fine. Maybe let me start to explain in a few words what Eurotopics does. It's a press review. That means we are selecting commentaries. We observe the media in, like you already said, 32 countries in all over Europe, and correspondents are sitting there in every country, and they are observing a lot of media every morning. They're collecting commentaries, and they send them to us, to the editorial office in Berlin. And we select some of the commentaries, and we build debates from it. So a debate includes like 4 or 3 commentaries, or maybe if it's a big issue, even 6 commentaries from different countries. And we issue a newsletter every day with like 15 texts, 15 commentaries. That means it's every day we publish a newsletter with about 4, 5, or 6 debates, bigger debates. So the thing is, our correspondence, we don't really work like a newspaper editorial office, for example. We don't sit in our editorial office and talk about, okay, what could we write today, or what could we publish today. It's actually the correspondents who bring the topics to us. The correspondents are scanning the media and reading the media every morning, and they propose topics to us. That means we do not primarily choose the topics ourselves, but we only react and mirror how the media comment on certain topics. So that's just an explanation for what we do. So we are not like real gatekeepers or agenda setters ourselves. The agenda is already in the media, it's already set, and we observe it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we do. But to come to your question, you said what changed since Corona, or
I was going to ask about that, because this is our main topic, right? What has changed because of Corona crisis? What topics did disappear because of it? And you are the best in this to know, right? Because you follow the main debates.
Yeah. Well, maybe I can give some examples, because I think the best to tell is to look what were the topics before, just 1 month before the Corona crisis became a real worldwide crisis, I think. So, for example, I have scanned the topics of January, and it was I was surprised myself what topics we have published in January. When there was no Corona, or Corona was a thing very far away. These were topics like mass protests against pension reform in France, for example. There were huge protests in France against that pension reform. We had topics about the relationship between Iran and USA a lot. We had the topic of peace process in Libya. And we had a big topic, 75 years of Auschwitz liberation. And also, of course, topics we all remember, like the impeachment of Trump and the Brexit and the shift to the right in Germany. These were all big topics in January, which suddenly kind of disappeared, because, then came Corona, and then nearly no one was talking about these topics anymore. And even big topics like the Brexit, which is really a topic that, we heard for years, didn't we? And who talks about the Brexit anymore? I don't know what's happening about Brexit, actually. I have to say. Yeah.
What do you think should happen so that these topics would come back to us?
Well, some topics, of course, will come back to us. And some topics are now connected with Corona, like because Corona is a thing that is connected to every part of the social life and of every part and every country. So you can't really you can't say that Brexit is over, or the impeachment is over, or the primary elections in USA are over, because they are now all connected somehow to Corona. That is one thing. And of course, I think many topics will come back, and there will be topics that will be even more important than before, I guess. But maybe that's a thing to talk about later.
Yeah, of course. I wanted to ask you, during this crisis, did you have to make any hard decisions about some topics that maybe some of your correspondents were interested in, and you said, no, this is not right for this moment? Or Did you have to make some?
No, I can't say that. I haven't been in the process of publishing the newsletter every day. That's my 3 colleagues most of the time, and I asked them about that, and they said, well, no, we didn't actually like put some topics aside. We didn't do that. If there's a good the contrary is the case. If there's a good Corona debate, we take it immediately, almost for the reason alone that that there is some variety. So they are really glad if something else is happening in the world now. And but my colleague Sophie, who's also listening, she also told me that she thinks that some issues, like I said before, would have been bigger issues if there hadn't been this pandemic situation. Like, for example, yeah, the elections in the USA. Like, what about Joe Biden and the accusations against him and stuff like that? Yeah. But it's not really like, you know, it's not that we have a lot of issues and we have to, well, we have a lot of issues and we have to choose from them, but all these issues come from the correspondence to us, and the correspondents, like I said, they take the commentaries from the media, and the media is always talking about Corona. So the suggestions of our correspondents naturally are about a lot about Corona as well. Yeah.
You were mentioning some topics that were not concerning coronavirus. What were they?
Topic. Well, actually, there have been very, very few, because what I can tell you is that I have a nice statistics here. Where is it? We have so-called top debates. This is all. It's the lead of the newspaper every day, and from March 12 to May 7, so about 2 months, we only had top debates on Corona. So the top debate is the biggest topic in our newsletter, and there was only one interruption on 3 April, and that was the ruling of the European Court of Justice, who sanctioned the Visegrad members about the acceptance of, or the non-acceptance of refugees. That was like a break in the Corona crisis, but I can't really say. Maybe Sophie can help me because she has been in the process of selecting every day, but it's basically all been about Corona for 2 months now. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry?
No, everything's fine.
In our case in Moldova, there was all the topics were somehow connected to the crisis provoked by the coronavirus. For example, the education system in Moldova was affected because nobody could go to school, of course, and universities. And finally, media started to talk about the fact that professors, teachers, as well as students are not prepared for digital change, right? For the digitalization didn't get to Moldova's villages and small cities. So this was some kind of break from the coronavirus focus. But of course, the main focus was on the virus and on health system in the country. Yeah. Okay. Would you say that now, or let's say for the last weeks, maybe you can see that there is some kind of change? Maybe the topics are shifting from Corona to the old topics or new topics, maybe?
Well, I can't really say that there's been a real big shift yet. There have sometimes been some other topics, but also these topics like the day of the 8th of May and 9th of May of the end of World War II, it would have been a very much bigger issue in normal times. So still, it's all very covered up with Corona topics, and I really think that old topics won't necessarily all come back. I think new topics will emerge. A lot of people are, I think, reflecting about what could be the outcome of this crisis. How could the world change so that we never come into such a situation again? And there are lots of things to change, and a lot of focus also on many problems we had before, but maybe we didn't focus on them so much, like the educational system or the healthcare system problems there. I would guess, and actually also I would hope, if I can tell you, that these things get more attention maybe after the crisis, or now.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Ulrike. I wanted to go to Angelina, because staying on the same topic about the topics that we somehow forgot. We haven't heard for a very long time about Greta. So what's happening there? We heard about some fake news about dolphins in Venice, though. So this is good. Would you say there's less coverage on environmental or climate change issues, or did everyone forget about our problems, or what would you say?
Let me I wanted to show you something.
Okay.
How it works. Who is the host? Andreas?
I'm hosting.
Andreas,
you want permission to share your screen?
Yeah. Can you?
Okay, next time, please tell me earlier.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to show you the graph, which is an analysis from media researchers about coverage of climate change worldwide. And it's right. So you can see it here. And you can see that it's been like going down after the appearance of Corona crisis, and like globally climate change coverage and is going down. This is a more detailed analysis, and I would also be happy to send all these links later into the chat and to everyone participating. And here, once again, we see it split across various regions, but it's pretty much coherent. It's pretty much, it shows that the global coverage of climate change is going down. However, I mean, this is one side of the story. On the other hand, I mean, what I see and what I experience is the growth of demand in stories which are connecting coronavirus and consequent restriction measures, including quarantines in countries, to climate and environmental agenda. So it's almost like, I don't know how many media reached out to me asking for articles, blogs, or comments about, so how is that coronavirus and quarantines in countries all over the globe influencing environmental agenda and climate agenda? So I would say maybe overall coverage of the topic is down, but then there are a few particular issues which have become very topical over the last couple of months, and this is what everyone is interested in. And those are how, if in any way, Corona crisis is connected to climate change, whether the virus has really been partly caused by loss of biodiversity or by new species entering the territories with other species. And so question number 2, what about all this clear skies, less pollution, less greenhouse gases? Is it sustainable? Is it going to last for long? Is it good? Question number 3, what about one-way plastic? Because now we have so much waste and many countries are experiencing a lot of issues with recycling, and there's so much of medical waste. So what are we doing about it? And also many places which used to say to accept you with your own cup where you could pour your coffee, nowadays in many countries they just don't do it anymore. And likewise, everyone is trying to now wrap everything in like extra plastic. And so, yeah, the question is like, what do we do about it? So topic number 3, future of sharing economy, like, you know, sharing things, exchanging things. What is the future of that? Then topic number 5, green recovery, whether recovery plans and recovery strategies of countries can include green elements. Like what about Green New Deal in Europe? What about US weakening the environmental regulation? So I would say those kinds of stories which are interesting. So yeah.
So what's the answer to the first question?
What was the first question again?
Let's see. It was about the consequences on. No, I wanted to ask you about the waste management. So because in Moldova this is a huge problem, and it's not less of a problem in other countries near Moldova. So what should we do? Because the plastic is somehow a commodity right now. It's easy to protect yourself by buying products wrapped in plastics, but in the same time, it's if you don't have a waste management in your country, it's bad. And also, I'm talking from our experience in the country. The waste management with the medical supplies, it actually doesn't exist in Moldova. So what do you think will be the consequence of that?
Well, I cannot speak for all of the countries, and in many ways these issues are all very country specific. Say in Russia, where I'm based, recycling industry, which is still emerging, has been experiencing a lot of difficulties ever since the start of the new restrictions and regulations. And so that the sanitary regulation authorities have even suggested stopping recycling at all at the moment and separate collection of waste, which provoked very negative reaction from environmentalists. But then, right. So I feel like there's no like one way solution for everything. Very much depends on what kind of infrastructure is there in the country already. Can it function under the current conditions? Whether people can still be using it, whether people still have access to it. And also like on a personal level, like day-to-day solutions. Well, if you can still think about how you can use less packaging, how you can avoid plastic, how can you avoid one-time use plastic so that you just use it like the disposable plastic so that you just use it one time and then throw it away. I mean, security issues with regard to virus are important, but like equally important many other topics like what to do with all this extra packaging which is around. So if you can, try to think of it. And also if you can, try to recycle. I mean, now, like as I mentioned, like in case of St. Petersburg in Russia, where I'm based, there was still not like a city-run recycling system. There was like grassroots run recycling system. It's not functioning properly now, but they're now trying to reform it so that it would still function in current conditions. So yeah, try to be conscious and try to act accordingly and see what other options are still out there.
Thank you. One more question. I was thinking, okay, the journalists maybe somehow lost their interest or focus on climate change topics. But what did the audience is the audience interested in these topics, and how are they following the problem?
Well, I don't have like the same analysis of the audience reactions and audience interest as the one I showed to you. So I can only really speak on my on my immediate perception and my immediate estimations of what the situation is like. And here again, I would say people are predominantly interested whether the green agenda will remain as important as it used to be before coronavirus. How is it going to change? And what are we going to do in terms of environmental and climate crisis in the future after the coronavirus, whether we would still have the money, the effort, and the energy to do it all.
Yeah. Thank you, Angelina. It was very interesting to hear you. I would like to go to Vlad because he has a very interesting story. He's working on with two Italian journalists, if I'm not wrong. He's documenting a story on a cross-border story on gambling. And he started to document it before the crisis. So I am very curious to hear what happened to his story. If Vlad, did you have to change something? Could you please share something about your?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's an investigation or it's.
It was something between an investigation and a reportage. Basically, we tried to study the gambling addiction problem, both in Italy and Romania, starting from some personal observations and from statistics. Only in Romania, we have 150,000 people, according to some estimates, that are addicted. And we wanted to for a better understanding, we try to study it in specific areas, both in Romania and in Italy. In Romania, for instance, I went to a former mining area in southwestern Romania, and my colleagues from Italy went to a place affected by earthquakes a few years ago. So we saw it as a social phenomenon and an economic phenomenon. Everything was going well. We interviewed the therapists, players, workers from this gambling venues experts. But in short, with the pandemic, the research stopped basically on that specific way of working. Because all the gambling venues, both in Italy and Romania, were closed in early or mid-March. So we thought about studying it as a phenomenon who possibly switched online. We wanted to see if the gamblers went online to get the same feeling from what they had in the venues. We didn't answer the questions yet, but those questions would be what happened to the players, what happened to the industry, and we agreed because this is part of Reporters in the Field program. We agreed about finishing the story, publishing the story in December. So we hope to have as many answers as possible until then.
So you're planning to publish it in December this year?
Yeah. It was supposed to appear in June.
Okay. Yeah. So do you think this story of yours gained or lost value during this crisis or because of this crisis?
I think both, because on one hand, you have this transformation, which is very interesting not only for us as journalists. It's interesting for instance for the therapist I was talking to, who said, well, we don't know, we didn't have anything like this happening, so we don't know what the players will do, if they will actually go online, if they will switch to another type of addiction, for instance, if they will go from gambling to alcohol, for instance, or I don't know. So anything that would give them the same pleasure. We don't know what will happen with the industry. There are only some estimates. An expert told us that maybe 30% of the industry of the companies will die after this pandemic. Or during the pandemic. So we have a lot of interesting things going on, and we can actually observe them while they are happening. This is on one hand. On the other hand, of course, we lost the possibility to actually meet people and to gain the access to players. This is not easy to do by phone or by email or whatever. This is a sensitive matter for everyone involved. It was much easier to go there and to meet people in the gambling venue, and this was it, you know. So we surely lost that for now. We don't know when these places will open. We don't know what our access will be. So if we study it as a larger phenomenon, we might have an interesting story after all. This is what we gained and lost.
Did you keep the connection with the ones you already interviewed, except the therapists?
Yeah. I kept the contact with the player, for instance, and he told me, well, I'm in this shitty town, and I don't know what to do. I'm just working. He was working something, but he didn't have the possibility to play and to meet his friends, of course. I kept in touch with a person who was working in such a place, and she didn't know what will happen to her. She said that for now we were working on the online part of the business, but we don't know. Another guy who worked there basically switched to his previous job, to his previous yeah. So there are a lot of transformations going on. I hope that our image will be better on this after the first places will reopen.
As far as I can understand, your story became more interesting now due to this crisis, because these people who have an addiction now do not have the access to the thing makes them happy, or I don't know if it's right to say happy.
Happy, maybe satisfied.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're satisfied, right? That's the word. Okay, I wanted also to ask you about the way your newsroom works right now, because I am following Decât Revistă for a very long time, and it's for the ones who do not speak Romanian or haven't heard about Decât Revistă. This is a print magazine also, not only online, and now they became popular. Especially because of the storytelling they were doing, the deepness of the story. So now, because they were spending a lot of time with the heroes of the stories, and right now, of course, this was not possible anymore. So I was following Decât Revistă during this during the last 2 months to see how like your newsroom transformed somehow through the stories you decided to do, and I would like you to tell us all more about the way you changed the way you work.
Or on one hand, we delayed the next issue of the magazine. It was supposed to appear in early June, but due to the situation, because of the situation, we cannot actually meet and work on it as we did with the previous issues. That's one thing. On the other hand, we tried to help people understand what happens now, and to work as a filter through the so much information that they are assaulted with that surround us. So we started a daily newsletter immediately after the pandemic, after the state of emergency started. And it has almost 5,000 subscribers now. And for lots of these people, they say, from what they say to us, it's their main source of information about the pandemic right now. They don't want to see the news on TV. They don't want to read any more about it. They think that this email that is sent to them at 7 a.m. offers them enough about the coronavirus. And we also started to adapt in the last few weeks. We started switching a bit from the coronavirus to some other stories, you know, to put something else there as well, because that's what we felt, that people want something else as well. We had to switch from reportage to analysis, basically, because we couldn't, of course, we couldn't meet people. And we, for instance, we tried to put day-to-day topics, what were day-to-day topics to us in the current context, because the pandemic has this habit of amplifying problems. So we started discussing, for instance, about how people raise their kids during these times, about racism during the pandemic in Romania, about domestic violence during the pandemic, about what it means being a doctor in these times, or I don't know, about what it means to be single during the pandemic. So we put everything in this context to give people a different approach than what they have on TV or on traditional newspapers and so on. We also started a series called What's Next, where we interview experts from different fields about, I don't know, what will happen to the psychological side of the society, I don't know, with the psychological issues, with the ecology, and with other things. This is a weekly series. That's how we transform, basically, right now.
Yeah, Moldova Work also had to transform the way it worked, because last autumn we decided to stop publishing news, because we were a very small newsroom, and we thought, okay, so we can't be useful by republishing the same information everyone is publishing. What can we do else? But during this pandemic, we saw a huge quantity of news, and everyone was so lost in this information. No one did understand what's happening. And what we decided to do is publish a daily live text, the very, very short information about everything that was happening during the day. And of course, the feedback was very positive, because everyone was so tired about hearing, about having like 10 million tabs opened with a lot of news and a lot of information concerning the corona crisis. And now, as well as Decât Revistă, we are trying to shift from this huge topic to the new life that's ahead. What's next? It's the same question I think that everyone here is asking themselves. So what we decided to do is publish like, I think there will be like 10 episodes, 10 parts on how will the restaurant function, how will we travel, how can we meet with our friends and families and not feel like we are killing them by meeting with them. So, and I know you also did this already, and this was a huge inspiration for us. So thank you for that. Yeah. So, what do you think will happen next? What will you do next?
On the editorial side, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Basically, what we decided, what management, I'm not part of the management, but I heard things, is that we are going to keep the newsletter, but it will not be about the coronavirus. It will be a general newsletter, but keeping this question in mind: what's next, right? To give people an image on what's happening, what will happen. We also started to split on bits. We didn't do that before. Everybody was working on a story that we were interested in, no matter if it was a field that they usually covered or not. You know, it was everybody was doing what he wanted, what he felt close to. But now we decided to actually gain some experience, each of us to gain some experience on a certain field, and to focus on that for at least for about 18 months, next 18 months. And we're in the process of deciding who's doing what for the next 18 months. So we became more organized with the pandemic. That's the idea. And we actually published a lot more than before. We published, I don't think we published more than 20 stories a month. Now we published, I think, about 60 stories in the first month or something like that. So it was, and the traffic also increased, everything increased.
Yeah, I think the traffic increased during the first month, especially, right?
Yeah,
everyone was looking for information, and then the second and the third, like the next time, the next period, everyone was more chill and relaxed, and then everyone started to feel like, okay, we are in this together.
Yeah, our keyword basically for the next maybe years, I don't know, it will be reconstruction. How do we rebuild from here? That's basically what we're going to cover.
Okay, thanks very much, Vlad. I wish you good luck with your story. I hope we will read it in December. I would like to say to everyone that we are waiting for your questions. But until we will receive your questions, I would like also to talk with Tugba Tekerek. If hello, I can see you right now, but can't hear you.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Great. As I understood, you might have a very interesting input on the migration topic, which we know kind of disappeared from the public agenda. No one is migrating, no one is a migrant anymore, no one has problems, there's no discrimination anymore, everything is good, right?
Yeah. Actually, when the coronavirus break, it was a very hot topic in Turkey, because the Turkish government said to the refugees, even they were started with transportation, and they were taken to the border of Greece. And they said, here is the border and you can go. So there were some sort of small clashes from between Turkey and Greece. There were tear gas from Greece side, etc. It was a very hot topic at the start of this coronavirus crisis. Then this issue started. Then all of a sudden, I've forgotten about the people there. They continued to stay there a while, because these refugees wanted to get attraction and wanted to resist and stay there. But unfortunately, no one, neither local media nor international media, was interested with them as before. And after a while, we heard that if you look very closely to the news stories, we heard that the Turkish government took them to some dormitories. Some people actually, before, I know such a sad story, for example. Some people had their houses in cities of Turkey. When they heard that, now they can go to Europe, they sold out everything they have. They left their houses. They went to the border, stayed there for days or weeks and months. They couldn't get anything, and they were they were like stripped of everything they have. They didn't have any place to go. They don't have any clothes, etc. Some of them took a bus and came to a bus station in Istanbul and stayed there for weeks and asked for help and tried to get attention of the media. Unfortunately, they were not successful in doing that. And some people, some individuals helped them. Even though put aside the media, even the international organizations, NGOs were not there because of the coronavirus. No one wanted to be on the field. So some individuals helped them, etc. They rented out some houses in Istanbul and tried to make somehow. So that's the issue in Turkey in general about the refugees. So the refugees were taken in dormitories. Some of them were taken in quarantinas for 14 days. And then the Turkish government took them from one dormitory to also again places close to border and to the agency. I saw a video of refugees who that we are locked up in the dormitory for, let's say, 40 days. We cannot go out and we don't know what to do now. We don't know what will happen next week, etc. They were trying to make some noise and get attention, but unfortunately not. The issue evaporated from the agenda of almost anyone, international media, local media, and also NGOs.
Yeah, that's a very sad story. But it's what I'm going to say is not about refugees, but it's about Moldovan migrants who wanted to come back to their country, and our government was very bad at planning this, and people were stuck at in different countries without any possibility to come back to their country. They were sleeping on the fields and with no food, no water, and no one to care about. But in this case, the media was helpful. Only because of the media, they could come back to their homes. Yeah.
Maybe because Moldova media was interested in Moldovan people abroad, right?
Yeah.
But in this case, they are refugees, just refugees. Some of them from Africa, some of them from Afghanistan, some of them from Iran, and no nation, no institution took care of them in Turkey case.
Yeah. Thank you, Tuğba, for your input. We have questions. I'm very happy to see some questions. Let's start from Christian. Hello, Christian. You were asking about if there were important stories happening in our countries that would normally gain more attention from foreign reporters, and they were not reported on now. I see Vlad nodding. Do you want to say something?
Yeah. I was thinking right now, what was I reading exactly before? I don't remember exactly because it's such a such a mess. No, there were some stories that were followed, were reported in the international media. I think corruption issues were constantly there in the last few years. The implications of Brexit during these times, because we have a huge Romanian community in the UK, and we actually, I don't think we know exactly right now what will happen with all these people and with those who wanted to migrate to the UK. We had not only a national but also an international debate about air quality. We were because all these apps started appearing in Romania and we noticed how bad it was. We didn't have a clear idea before. We were discussing quite a lot in January and February about air quality, and there were some international articles in the international publications about it. About racism and discrimination, this is not a topic anymore, but it's a huge problem in Romania. I think those are the main ones.
Ulrike had also something to contribute. She's raising her hand.
Yeah. We can't hear you. Unmute yourself.
Yeah. When Tuba was talking about refugees, I suddenly remembered a story that, or a debate we actually wanted to publish, but we couldn't because we couldn't find commentaries. And that was the debate about the unaccompanied children who were actually were to be taken in from Germany and other countries. I don't know if you remember that Germany, Luxembourg, and some other EU countries agreed to take in some unaccompanied refugee children. And that was at the beginning of the Corona crisis in Germany. And the topic was still, well, some newspapers and some media wrote about the topic, but some German media, but we couldn't find commentaries about that. And we couldn't actually find commentaries of other countries. We couldn't even find information what countries were actually taking and how many taking in, how many children they were taking in. There were no information about that. And that was a thing we just couldn't get done because there were no commentaries. We asked our correspondents. That's what we do sometimes as well. If we think there is an interesting topic, we also ask all of our correspondents, and we ask, do you have any commentaries in your media? And well, they didn't find any, so we couldn't bring this debate. For example, I don't know if it has to do with Corona, but I think it somehow, maybe because the countries didn't actually want to openly talk about it, like, because it was it was an issue of concern for the ones, and for the others it was like a bit embarrassing that we only take in like 50 children or so. So actually, I think the governments didn't actually want to talk about it, and so it came in quite handy that there was the pandemic, and they could talk about something else.
Yeah, thank you, Ulrike. We have two questions actually on the same topic, and I think no one will be angry if I will mix them up. It's concerning the financial situation of the media outlets of our guests. Of course, this crisis affected financially also the media outlets. So the question is, do you feel that you are in danger of maybe in short time to stop the work, to not be able to pay the salaries to your contributors, to your authors? How do you feel about that? Who wants to respond?
I would start. I'm not I'm not paying salaries for. I'm happy that I'm not doing that. But I know about the discussions around this in the last few months. We were in the middle of a process of changing from print subscriptions to digital subscriptions, and with the pandemic, basically we try to encourage people to donate more. So we are counting on our subscribers. With the newsletter is also a form of attracting people to donate if this is a product that they trust and they use every day. Also, my colleagues are applying to different international grants, and we have a few answers already, and it seems that everything is fine for now. At least that's what our editor-in-chief, Christl, tells us. No one was fired because of the crisis for now. Of course, we don't know what will happen in autumn, for instance, or in December, but for now, we are surviving.
Thank you, Vlad. We also have a question. I think it will suit the best to Angelina concerning the recycling and the waste that we produce, especially by wearing those masks. And the question was, how will this be managed? Angelina, can you help us with an answer?
Well, once again, it's very country specific. It's whether you have a special system in your country for collecting and disposing of medical waste, because in some countries, medical waste is just incinerated at waste incinerators. In some other countries, there's no separate system for medical waste collection. So all of medical waste would just go to landfills. In further countries, there's a very advanced system when medical waste gets collected separately, and then it gets like heated but not like burned, and then it can still get like partly recycled and partly not. So it very much depends on the system that you have. But overall, I mean, the latest data which I also read, if we don't speak about medical waste as of waste from hospitals, but as of like our medical waste, meaning like masks and gloves, I mean, it's also important to understand that basically virus doesn't live there forever. It's not that like it's been contaminated like forever. I feel like the latest data that like virus lives up to 8 hours, and then after that you can just dispose it as general, like it won't live forever there. But yeah, it's unfortunately I cannot give an overall answer because it very much depends. Like if you're interested in your country, try to find information how medical waste is being collected, whether it's recycled, whether it's incinerated, or whether it's just being taken to the landfill.
Thank you, Angelina. I was thinking, in our case, our focus is solution journalism, and I think those who are practicing solution journalism should be very active right now and like explain to people, okay, we have, everyone already knows the types of masks that are available to the public. This is how you could recycle it. This is how you could, so the waste management now has one more segment, right? This medical waste, who is already very used by the general public, not only in hospitals. So I think this is one more topic that those who are doing solution journalism and explanatory journalism also, of course, should focus on right now. Okay, Ulrike, actually, Ulrike, do you want to say it?
Yes, like Tuba reminded me that we actually had the story about the refugee children. What I was remembering was that we wrote an email to all our correspondents asking if they had commentaries about it, and like a few days they didn't find anything. So at the end we came up with 3 commentaries from Luxembourg, Germany, and Austria about this topic. But if you imagine that there were a lot of countries actually who wanted to take in refugee children, this debate was really, really small. Yeah, but we had it. So at the end, we could make a very, very small debate about it.
And I can follow this with this. I really wondered what happened to those children, and also what happened to the refugees in Greece. I really searched all Reuters and all international media, but there were no news about what happened to the children, accompanied children, where they are taken, how is their situation, and what happened to the people who stayed in refugee camps. There were no news about them.
Okay, thank you. I didn't follow this topic, so my input here is not interesting, but I can see there is one more question from Christian.
So Angelina had something to contribute maybe to this topic, maybe we...
Yes, of course.
For a different topic, but I also saw a question in the chat about how has it influenced our ability to travel, and it has indeed, and not only our ability, but also say ability of environmental inspectors in many countries across our region, and also ability of environmental activists to actually hold action, you know, to hold actions and to actually check what companies are doing. So in many ways, nowadays we have environmental data of much worse quality. We have even meteorological data of much worse quality, surprisingly, because a lot of weather data comes from the planes. And now that planes don't fly, we get far less of that. And so this is like, right. So now it's like almost a perfect time when a company, like a pollutant production facility, wants to do something bad, they can do it. And also in many countries, businesses have been trying to lobby to weaken down environmental regulation. So this is also has been happening. And then my last point would also be, I mean, probably we can also discuss it now, but in terms of like public civil society actions and protests, that has also been influenced. I mean, you can do it online, but there are certain limits to the way you can do it online. And it will be in any way less present and visible. Just, you know, as another idea to kind of throw into the room.
Okay, guys, we are close to the end. Actually, we expanded a little bit. We had to close the talk at 9 o'clock, but well, I can see one more comment from Cornelia. Cornelia, speaking from the NGO perspective, I can only confirm that we feel... Do you want to say this, Cornelia? So I don't read it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I can.
Hey,
I didn't want to
hello.
drop in. I just wanted to make a comment on. Sorry, I muted my camera.
Hello.
Hi. No, I work for a church organization that does quite a lot of aid work, and we also have the feeling that this entire topic of refugees and how are they doing and how this affects them is pretty much dropping from the radar, because I mean, I remember like we had one session with other aid organizations and someone said, everybody is so kind of occupied with themselves right now. So there's much less capacity for this topic. But we also have to kind of, we have to feel guilty a little bit ourselves as well, because much of our own communication right now goes around COVID-19 and not so much around the normal work that's being done, and which continues, of course. And we are also ourselves a bit guilty and a bit to blame for this situation. So I just wanted to make that comment because we were discussing the issue of the camps in Greece and Turkey and the children and all that. Yeah.
Thank you, Cornelia. And thank you, everyone. Florian, do you want to say something? Did you raise your hand or? No, okay, sorry. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us. I enjoyed it. Actually, it was the first time I'm a host online, so sorry if I was not perfect as my Moldavian wine. And I think we can wrap it up. And thank you one more time, and thanks to the n-ost team who invited us all here. I think this is a very important topic we discussed today, because our responsibility as journalists is to focus on the topics that everyone is ignoring somehow, and we have to do our best, right?
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for being our host. I think you did a wonderful job, and I think it was a really nice kitchen talk atmosphere that we had, and really interesting topics that came up. Also, we will continue talking about these kind of issues for next kitchen talk. Actually, we were planning to discuss about violent conflicts that are going on in a different way, but somehow disappeared from the media agenda. So yeah, stay tuned, and we will announce the next kitchen talk soon. And send us your feedback and ideas, please. We are always very interested in your input for new topic discussions. And right now we will stop our public streaming, but please, those of you who are in Zoom, stay with us for yet another informal beer and some chat. And yeah, for those who follow us on Facebook, thank you, and see you next time. Feel free to register also in order to participate in the also informal part of our kitchen talks. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you.